One. We're now live. Hello, Andy.
Hi, Carlos. How you doing?
How you doing? Happy Sunday to you.
Thank you very much.
So it's 9 p.m. UK, is it 9? Oh, no, 8:59 to be exact.
8:59.
So we're on time for once.
We are on time. I'm just going to tweak the feed a little bit.
Commander Kreminus says, evening, gents.
Nice one.
Evening, Commander. So the one listener, a couple of listeners, this is the behind the scenes of Theory of Conspiracy before Andy weaves his magic.
Yeah. Yeah. Hi, Commander Karen. Yeah. Okay. Let's get the intros out of the way then. So, yeah, I've got a description of the podcast that I put out on social media up on the feed with the logo, and we've got our sound wave showing, so they can see what's going on. Okay, I'm ready. Okay, so yeah, I'll do the intro then.
No worries.
Okay, just grabbing my notes.
I'll keep an eye on the chat room as well.
Okay, all right.
I've got 3 devices there, and it's like for some reason.
Yeah, I'm looking at the chat room as well, dude. Okay, right. I'm gonna go for the intro. Hi, TheoCons. Welcome to the penultimate episode for season 1. We're recording and publishing episode 19 a lot sooner than normal. I know we've only just released episode 18, but we feel like the content in this show is time sensitive and very relevant. Carlos thinks I'm very passionate about this topic, but actually I'm just really angry about the stupidity of the British public. That's probably a bit harsh, but there we go. Yeah, and the responsibility of certain people in the limelight in the British press. Yeah, they've got a lot to blame for as well. Or they've got a lot to answer for, I should say. And we've got a lot to cover since the Corona Part 2 episode, which was way back in April. And it was actually episode 6, I believe. So,
it was.
Yeah. Carlos, do you want to add that time-sensitive bit that you mentioned to me the other day?
Which is what, sorry?
Where you said, what was it you said? And I said, I've mentioned that on a podcast, Carlos.
Oh, regarding the unrest?
That's it, unrest. Your little unrest speech. Yeah,
it's just because obviously when you sent me some voicemails regarding the next podcast, because obviously I don't know what time you sent it, but you didn't write it in text. You literally put it to speech, and I just went through you sent me about 4 or 5 voicemails straight away. And I just sort of and I agreed with you. I said, yeah, we need to get on top of this because the public is going crazy on the unrest on TV, the unrest on social media, the unrest on the public domains and the streets of the United Kingdom. So I just thought, yeah, we need to get this out because all literally our podcast, the one what spikes is pretty much anything to do with coronavirus. Is clearly people are looking for information or alternative decisions or different mindsets or just different outlooks on what's going on. Because I think people are confused, and that's what I was just talking about, the unrest which is across the United Kingdom at the moment. And it says a lot the way you just opened up and on your opening sort of dialogue or monologue, you want to call it. And it's like I think you're speaking for a lot of people out there at the moment.
Yeah, I'm sure you are as well, Carlos. Because everywhere I look, I am seeing these alternative theories and these. I'll probably mention it a few times. I don't know what else to call it, but I'm just going to call it COVID deniers. Where I'm not saying they're denying that COVID exists, but there's some sort of stat or rule or something they don't agree with. And
I won't say deniers. I'll just say it's sort of like it's one of the things that you either believe it or you don't. And it's like it's hard to say black or white, but you either accept there's summer or there's a kind of undercurrent, or there's a crazy virus out there and everybody's going to die. I think that's the bit where I know it's hard to put people into two categories, but you're either A or you're B. There's no C. There's definitely no C.
There is. If you live on the coast, you see the sea all the time. All right. Yeah, before we crack on the final episode of season 1 then, episode 20, we're going to record this on the 7th of October in the same style we're doing now. So for the podcast listeners that are just getting this in audio format, we're actually doing this live on Twitch. So we've got a chat room. People can log on and contribute and ask questions while the podcast is actually happening. So on the 7th of October, between 8:30 and 9 p.m. is the usual start time. But yeah, again, if like me, you often think of questions as you listen to podcasts and wish the host would answer it there and then. Well, yeah, now you can. We're probably going to record all our future sessions live on Twitch. And yeah, you can join the feed, ask anything you want in the chat room, and you might also get a mention in the final edit. So that's the 7th of October. It's a Wednesday, 8:30 to 9 UK start time. So see you there, and keep an eye on the social media for the season 2 announcements. We've got a growing list of. Sorry, go on. Sorry.
So I was going to say, it works on the last episode, which is the 27 Club. It works really well in the chat room because there was people. We had a sort of like a sort of like a bullet points areas we wanted to cover, but we had some questions from the chat room which diverted us in a good way and we started taking the podcast in a different direction. So it was quite good. It's quite interactive. I like that.
Yeah, we did. Talking about the last episode, Bobby Shafter's on. Evening, gentlemen, he says.
Evening, Bobby.
Right, Bobby. Yeah, we're Bobby. We're doing yet another podcast because we think this is a bit. Yeah, you probably had the start, but if not, yeah, same story as on Wednesday, really. Okay, so yeah, so season 2, we've got a growing list of topics, and if you start that again. So season 2, we've got a growing list of topics, and if you have one, start again. Season 2, we've got a growing list of topics, and if you have one, feel free to send it to us via social media. Usual links are all in the show notes. We're happy to include it. In fact, we've probably got more suggestions than we have for episodes for season 2, but it'll help towards season 3. And if we know that you're interested in one of the episodes we've got on the list, we'll obviously bump it up into season 2 because we know someone wants us to talk about it.
We did that in season 1 as well. We actually changed one of the topics because a listener and a subscriber suggested something, and we just changed it literally within 24 hours. So it's because there's things out there where we think that people want to talk about, but then people may suggest a certain subject or what's hot and what's not, and people sort of, and we could just sort of, because obviously I read all sorts of stuff, and you're a great researcher as well, Andy. So we can always just divert and just change our podcast schedules literally overnight. So yeah, any suggestions is welcome.
Yeah, as long as we do have that free time to do it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to episode 20. It's going to be a bit different to the others. So yeah. Also, talking of season 2 and the downtime, we're not going to have that big a break. I've got some. Well, I don't know if it's going to go ahead with the lockdown situation, but we've got a little UK break planned for the school holidays at the end of October. I'm starting a new job in November, and then we've got Christmas, so we're probably looking at coming back in January, if we're lucky. But yeah, we'll fill the space in between with a couple of bonus episodes. And guys, if you do like it, we'd really love a review on iTunes or a like or a follow somewhere. Yeah, or just tell your friends about the podcast. Yeah, 2 guys from Manchester. We'd love the Manchester scene to get a bit more behind us. So rather than all these Scottish listeners. But love you, Scotland. Love you.
Well, hopefully we'll be able to take the podcast on tour because, like you just mentioned, due to the corona, we don't know what, because we had ideas of taking it different landmarks around the United Kingdom. So, but with the current climate, we don't know what can happen.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Yeah, yeah. Okay. I'm just checking my notes to see if there's any other news you want to stick in there.
No, that's it. That was
No,
pretty much
okay.
we covered on that side.
All right, I've got a little one. I'll say a one-liner. It's like a three-liner before the main bit. Okay. All right then. Before we start, I just want to say that the content for tonight's episode has come from a lot of different Facebooks. Sorry. Before we start, I just want to say that the content for tonight's episode has come. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to change the word. Before we start, I just want to say that the content from tonight's episode has been inspired by a lot of different Facebook. I can't get my words out. Before we start, I just want to say that tonight's content. I'm going to do it without laughing. Before we start, no, right. Before we start, I just want to say that the content for tonight's episode has been inspired by a lot of different people's Facebook conversations and posts that I've been involved with. Some posts have frustrated. Some posts have frustrated me. Sorry, I was just having to wiggle my mouse on the other machine because it screensavered. Some posts have frustrated me, as I saw what I considered to be potentially harmful views for reasons that hopefully will become obvious when we get into the meat and bones of tonight's episode. But all of my posts and reactions were meant to be purely topical debate. But I must admit to potentially offending one friend who's since deleted me and blocked me from the post. Yeah, maybe.
So are you making animals at the moment? Are you making enemies?
Enemies.
Enemies, yeah.
Yeah, it was heated back into between myself and a couple of friends, but the person whose Facebook profile it was on just decided it was too enough. It's too much, I think, and just deleted me. So
I know Commander Krem was animals. I did say animal. I meant to say enemies. So it's just like we've got all these books here. So no, thanks, Commander. And that's actually a new word. I'm gonna copyright that one.
I'll be in the dictionary in 3 years' time. Cool. All right. So insert jingle. This is the main bit. Okay, Carlos. I'm not sure what order we want to go through these in. Do you want to kick off? Are you gonna run the order of things?
Yeah, because you got the because I know you've had a lot of debates on social media. So much so you've been actually talking to me. Some of your debates have been going on for 3 or 4 days, and one of the things you said to probably even longer than that. One of the things what came up and you sent me like literally a bullet point of all the stuff that people come and I've sort of like can ask you some of these questions and obviously I'll thought provoke and also challenge you in some of your answers you give us. But you said a lot of people have been sort of coming back at you by saying more people die from the flu and pneumonia at the moment than COVID-19. And what have you said about that?
Yeah, that's a popular thing. That's a popular one. Yeah, just before I get into that, anyone on the chat room, if you are any of these Facebook people, feel free to chip in on your comments and add more to it because I will answer it on the fly. If my answer doesn't satisfy, I'll do my best. But yeah, obviously these are just my own thoughts. So yeah, so I have been seeing that. In fact, I'm just going to share a graphic on the chat room. One sec. Yeah, it'll come up in a second. So, yeah, I've just shared a graphic on the chat room. If you're a podcast listener, we will put this on social media, or you can go onto YouTube or Twitch and have a look at the video and see the graphic. But I'm going to talk you through it if you're listening to this. So it's from a newspaper. It's from a newspaper article. I'm not sure what the newspaper is, but it basically has got a list of causes of death, basically, that compare to the coronavirus. So, for example, it says cancer. The approximate daily average deaths are 450 deaths. Dementia, 214, heart disease 174, stroke 99, flu and pneumonia 89, coronavirus 21. In brackets, it says the last 7 daily. It says, sorry, someone was beeping in my ear. Coronavirus 21. It says the latest 7-day daily average. Suicide 18, accidents at home 16, road accidents 5. The road accident one is quite funny because I've seen quite a lot of everyone goes, oh, if you've had a test and you've been hit by a bus, they put down you've died as corona. But we'll come back to that because it's a completely different subject. So, yeah. So I saw this graph. It was posted on the chat of social media in reply to something I'd said. I've also seen a very similar one from the Telegraph and the Daily Mail, slightly different stats, but they were all taken around the 18th of August, quoting similar stats for the week of the 1st to the 7th of August, which is when the coronavirus number was sort of calculated. We're now 20 days later. That's 3 weeks almost from that date, right? So yeah, we're almost 3 weeks later on those dates. But I'll come back to that. Why are they lumping the flu and pneumonia figures together, and where are they coming from? They're obviously lumping them together to make it look like a bigger figure, because individually, they're not 89.
They're not as big. They're not as big,
obviously it makes sense. So I wanted to know where this figure had come from, this flu and pneumonia. How have they got 89 by combining them together? It's quite hard when you start looking at. It's not quite hard. It's just that you get so much information when you Google UK pneumonia deaths per year, and the figures are literally all over the place. But in 2012, the figure for pneumonia deaths was 29,000 deaths from pneumonia in a year. You average that out per day, that's 79 per day. Okay. The reason I picked that one is because that one was sort of the closest to the average. Because when you actually do look at the stats, like I say, they fluctuate massively. From 17,000 deaths, from 170,000 deaths from to sorry, I've lost my track. What was I saying? Yes, so they did. Yeah, sorry. They do fluctuate. Yeah, so I've seen figures of 170,000 deaths a year, but I've also seen that in 2019. No, sorry, this is flu. Sorry, I've gone on to the flu one. Sorry about that. Let me backtrack. I didn't make a note of the fluctuation. It was the flu ones I made a note of. But anyway,
you're talking about the manipulation of the basic people manipulating the reports and stuff like that, and the numbers.
No, that's coming later. I'm not talking about the manipulation. Just talking about this flu comparison. So let me backtrack. So anyway, I can't remember. You'll have to go and have a look yourself. Guys, it's September. Oh, what did I say?
August.
Oh shit.
It don't matter. Everybody.
All right. Yeah, I have put. Yeah, I did say August. So you're absolutely right, Bobby. It was September. Shall I just start again? Let me start this section again. Right. No. Well, I'll start from the bit where I say. So yeah, I saw this graph on social media, and it was actually in response to something. Something I'd rebutted. And it was like, here, Andy, here's some more evidence. What do you think of this? I can't remember what paper this comes from that we're showing on the live stream, but the Telegraph and the Daily Mail also had similar articles around the 18th of September, quoting similar stats for the week of the 1st to the 7th of September. We're now 20 days or almost 3 weeks later. Yeah, 3 weeks later since those figures were published, right? So I wanted to know, where the flu and pneumonia figures come from, and why were they lumping them together. So I did a bit of research on the pneumonia figures, and like I say, it's hard. It was hard to nail it down where exactly they got it from, but a sort of like a rough average of the last few years was about 29,000 deaths from pneumonia a year. That averages out to 79 deaths per day. Therefore, if they've added that to the flu figure, flu must only be about 10 deaths per day, right? Because they've combined it to 89, all right? Actually, right, when I then dug into the flu figures to try and correlate it, it was the flu figures, they fluctuated massively. So the flu figures ranged in like the last 10-year period from 170,000 deaths from flu in just England, and that equals 47 deaths per day if you average it out. But if you look at 2019, total deaths from flu was only 1,692, and that's an average of 4.6 per day. So they've come up with this other number, roughly about 10, it looks like, and they've added it to the pneumonia figure, and they've lumped it together to make it look much a bigger number, because obviously flu is just a different, it's the brother or sister of COVID, you know, they're both flu viruses, right?
They are a coronavirus, aren't they? They are some form of coronavirus.
Not corona, they're a COVID, are they? Yeah, but should we even be comparing pneumonia with COVID? Okay, pneumonia attacks the lungs, right? But also on this graph, you've got cancer, you've got heart problems, you've got dementia, right? You can't walk around with cancer and pass it on to people by breathing on something that they might touch, right? Pneumonia is contagious, yes. But just like a cold or flu, when it's caused, it's caused by infectious microbes. It's caused by infectious microbes, but pneumonia is not contagious when the cause is related to a type of poisoning, like the inhalation of chemicals or chemical fumes, right? Pneumonia can also be caused by bacteria, virus, or fungi, right? Some of these do spread from person to person, right? So may be contagious if you have the right type of it, that's the contagious type. However, even though it is contagious, not everyone will develop pneumonia when exposed to it, whereas everybody does seem to develop COVID when exposed to it. There's a big difference between pneumonia and COVID or the flu, right? So it's a bit dodgy to, you know, people just, oh yeah, pneumonia, and they just jump to the conclusion, oh, that's an everyday thing. You know, also, pneumonia is treatable if you catch it early enough. All the types that I've mentioned, the bacteria, the virus, the fungus, they're all treatable. Okay, if you catch it quick enough, you can get over it. At the moment, can't really do that with COVID. Although, you know, it's a bit unfair that, you know, there's new things. You can have blood fusions and all this sort of stuff with the what's it called that's in your blood? The
white blood cells.
What's it called that's in it? Someone in the chat room. Bobby, tell me what it's called. The what is it called? Antioxidants. It's not that. It's basically when you develop it, when you develop your immunity to it. Oh, he's saying T cells. I think that's cancer or something. I don't know. I don't know what it is anyway. So let me just go back to the numbers 1 sec, Carlos, or do you want to butt in?
Yeah.
I've got a little bit more.
No,
just on those.
No, you were just going on the vaccine, because we were talking about the vaccines, and I think and the because we've got not cures, but we've got some vaccines for the other viruses you mentioned, or diseases. But the leading university was Oxford, and they've had to put their vaccine trials on hold because somebody's had some bad side effects on it.
Right. Okay.
So that's
just
we don't know what.
That was it. Antibodies. Sorry, mate. Antibodies. That was it, Bobby. Thanks. Just had a question in the chat room, Carlos. I'll read it out, and then I'll come back to the rest of my thing about these actual numbers. Right.
Yeah.
So,
you read it out loud, or?
Sorry, I was just. Yes, I am reading it out loud.
Oh.
I just had to squint at the corner of my screen to see what it was. Right, so Bathfit Bob says, what does it matter, Andy? The death figures have been virtually negligible for 3 months at least. We're almost in full lockdown again. The death numbers are next to nothing. If you believe we're in serious danger, wear a mask and you're safe, right? Let everyone else live their lives as they did before COVID. All right. I'll come back to that, Bathfit. Bathfit also says vaccines are not a cure. We've had vaccines for flu. Shitloads of people die from flu still. Yeah, that's true, because not everybody gets the flu vaccine. Let me just go back to these numbers on this graphic that I'm sharing then about the cancer, the stroke, and all this. So these numbers, there's a flaw with these numbers. I'll tell you what the flaw is. So the numbers in red for all the other conditions other than coronavirus are daily averages, calculated by yearly totals, and they've been averaged across the day, right? And they're comparing those yearly totals, right, split down into a daily. So they basically go, right, this many thousand died per year, divide it by 365, that's your daily average. Fine,
Yeah.
no problem with that. The coronavirus 21 is not an average of corona. It's just an average from the last 7 days. So in the first week of September, fair enough, the deaths were really low because the UK was at an all-time low for infections and deaths. But no, the figures, they don't matter. Today's figures, they don't matter. It's the number of people who are going to be dying if infections keep rising as they are. It's the number of people that are dying in 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks, however long it takes for more and more people to contract it, get symptoms, get ill from it, end up in hospital on ventilators and dying from it. So people forget that in April, 9,000 weekly deaths from COVID during April, right? Compare that to flu and pneumonia in the same period, 2,000. Now tell me that more people die from flu and pneumonia than do corona, right? So yeah, coming back to the stats again, if you want to get your calculators out, as of Saturday the 26th of September, there were 36,765 deaths in England, right? I just looked at the England stats. Now divide that by 201 days since the first UK death, and you get a daily average of corona of 196. Now put that on your chart, right? 196 sits below cancer at 450, below dementia at 214, but it's above heart disease, it's above stroke, it's above flu and pneumonia, it's above all the others. So that's how you compare stats. You don't cherry pick your stats and pick the week where the lowest amount of deaths happened. Fair enough, the rates have gone down. I understand that, right? This is 3 weeks ago. This is the last thing I'm going to say on this before we move on, Carlos, and you can have a word as well. But if you look at the figures from Friday the 25th of September regarding hospitalized cases and people on ventilators, patients in hospital with COVID, 1,616. That was up 575 from the previous week. People on a ventilator, 228. That is up 104 people from the previous week. It's doubled. The amount of people on a ventilator last week doubled from the people on a ventilator the week before, right? So that's where your stats are going up. This is why it's flawed. This is why there's now an upwards curve. So I don't know if you've got anything to say on those stats, Carlos, or
not on them particular stats, but one thing I will add to it is because obviously the curve is going up, but then the question would be doctors' morality. It's because there was a documentary, there was a podcast with Elon Musk, and Elon Musk was saying doctors are in that conundrum now. Do they manipulate figures, tests to get because obviously a lot of hospitals are running at 30% capacity, 50% capacity, and a lot of their fellow doctors and nurses and porters and cleaners are being furloughed or overtime's being cut back. So he's saying that the doctors now are in conundrums to say, if I put this patient on life support, if I do this with this doctor, so with this patient and that patient, I can get the medical bill through the roof, and then my fellow colleagues won't be furloughed or lose their jobs. So it's, yes, I understand that the figures are going up, but how can you really trust them figures are correct and they're not being fudged? It's like, because obviously we all know that sometimes a police officer or a traffic warden has targets. They'll say no, but they know they've got targets to do per day, how many people they stop for speed, how many people they get for traffic. So maybe the doctors or hospitals have been told you need to at least diagnose